we want to just explain something here. And this is a US oil TVC broker for our time frame. Remember, we use this particular chart, all right, to explain some few things about our intersection, talking about support and resistance versus a trend line. So we still have some of our drawings here. All right, so now I want to pay attention where we want to talk about, or want to look at and talk about right now. So that will be this particular part. Sorry, I'm not able to get my brush tool. Okay, I think I have it now. All right, so this part of the chart versus this part of the chart. All right, so guys, I need you to pay attention to that. All right. We want to talk about breakout and retest. All right, breakout and what? Retest. Remember, we talked about point of intersection. We have that will begin to have consistent breakout and retest when we have after the market hits our point of intersection. This is the point of intersection. The market hit it. Remember, if you still need to learn one or two things about this, go back to the original video. That's from part 1 to 3, I think part 1 to 4 thereabout, where we use the particular instrument. All right, but that's not what we're here to do now. Here we are just here to actually clarify some issues as regards the breakout and retest after that point of intersection has been hit. All right, that's what we want to clarify here. So now this point was point of intersection. After it has been hit, what happened? I hope we are still recording. So let me be sure that we are still here. Be sure that we are still here. Just want to be sure that we are still here. I guess I will almost start all over again to be sure that we are getting the point trying to make. All right. So we are paying attention to after the point of intersection, breakout and retest. All right, you see this is our point of intersection. After the point of intersection happened, you could notice that I just want to, all right, I think it should be better now in terms of view. So you notice after the point of intersection, which is here, you see at this point, all right? All right. Now, first of all, there was a breakout and retest here. All right, there was a breakout here. There was a retest of the zone. And after this bullish shooting star, okay, after evening star, that's evening star, there are 3 candles here forming evening star with this, around this point, these 3 candles here. You can zoom it to look at it very well. Then, after it formed, after it retests the zone, there was a move down. Look at the move. The move continued to this point. This is a very huge move as well. So, which is consistent with breakout and retest. All right. So, but at the point we'll probably be having issue is after at this particular zone. After breakout, and there was a retest here. Of course, there is a move, but a small move. You might not be satisfied with this, but at least there's still a very fine move. But is it a move that would have not taken you out if you have, after market retested here, all right, you take the trade, you see the market keep going up to this particular point, it would have taken you out, which means that why this point would have been a winning trade for you, even if you did not take your profit here, the market still continue going down because it did not revisit the point to take you out. All right. But this second one, there was a retest here. There was a retest here. And the market only went up. Of course, we have tried to explain a little bit where we say that here, when we talked about the fact that from here, from this point, you were having higher high, but the higher high that would have helped you to understand here that the market is going in the bullish direction would have already taken you out before you realize it, which means that this wasn't really adequate for you to be able to know for sure that you should exit the trade, that market will take you out here. So there is no way you would have known, all right? Which means that this higher, the higher low, sorry, I say higher high, higher low, which consistent to an uptrend, before he give you the one that will help you know that uptrend is in play, the market would have taken you out, all right, already after breaking out this way and retesting this way, you take the trade, all right? If you do not take your profit here, the market will have taken you out here. So, but the question is, why is it that that particular breakout and retest is not consistent with what should have been happening after we have hit point of intersection? So that it's supposed to have been consistently getting breakout and retest, all right? At least. So now I want to tell you about the things that you should remember that will help you to always know when breakout and retest, even after the point of intersection has been fulfilled, that the trade might still fail. Remember that nothing is 100% foolproof, but there will always be a sign that should be able to tell you. Like in this case, the sign here could have been this higher low that started happening to tell you that an uptrend, a characteristic of an uptrend is taking place, so that to warn you that your trade would have been, you would have lost that trade. All right. So, but in this particular case, you don't have enough time to see breakout and retest. Higher low, consistent with an uptrend. Before you notice that, an uptrend is taking place, you would have been taken out already. So there would have been no sign. But here there is a sign here to have warned you, and we are going to try to break it down. I've just deleted the things I'm talking about. I've used to mark so that we start talking about the main thing. So, on the whole, you have come to understand right now that the warning you should have gotten is this higher low around this zone. The higher low that started happening around this zone, that's the only thing that would have told you that the market is going to take you out here. But before you could have known that, you would have been taken out, because after the first low, you wouldn't know the higher low will stop to happen. It was the second low that you will begin to observe that higher low is taking place. But before it happened, you would have been taken out. So how else should you have been able to know and anticipate this kind of scenario? Now, let me come to the first point. The first point of breakout and retest. All right, guys, like I was saying before, you see, the very first point of breakout and retest, this is the very first point of breakout and retest. All right. Sin is now writing. Okay, this is the very first point of breakout and retest. That is after the point of intersection. All right. And you see that played out well. In fact, since after taking this trade here, the market never came back to disturb it. The market kept going down. Did you see that? All right, but there is a second breakout and retest. Now, the first breakout and retest was for this particular support and resistance. All right. The second breakout and retest happened here. So the same thing, if you took this trade, the market never came back, it kept going down. Consistency, that's breakout and retest, playing out nicely after the point of intersection. But now when you get to this point, you now discover there was a breakout here. Let's call this place at the point of breakout down here. Now the proper retest, but the market went down a little bit and came back, and would have, if you have taken this trade and put your stop loss here, and put, okay, let me try this thing again. It's like I'm no longer with it, or what is going on. Okay, and put your stop loss here, the market would have taken you out. So except you have a very huge stop loss, all right, above here, that's only when you can continue. So assuming you made the market this point, there was a breakout and then retest, and you put your stop loss above here rather. So if you take it, even here is too big, take it here is too big for this kind of trades, but that's the only thing it would have taken you not to be taken out. If not, the market will take you out, all right, and keep going down. So this particular breakout and retest didn't work. Now, first of all, before I say what I want to say, remember that if you during fishing, you can't count on all support and resistance, okay? You are just fishing. It is when you decide to start trading for real, you tell yourself you are now a great trader who is free to go all the way and begin to trade. Then you mark out, you are able to identify the real valid support and resistance, all right, that the market will respect. It is when it is not respected before you begin to ask questions. Sorry, the network is disturbing and this thing has disappeared again. All right. That's only when you begin to ask questions. Outside that, you are not supposed to ask questions. All right. Because those zones are not valid. But for a valid zone, you will need to ask questions. Now, talking about valid zone, how do you know valid zones, guys? All right. You should remember that a lot of things is in play. First of all, remember we talked about pulse and reversal, not bounce and reversal, pulse and reversal. We say that pulses can also serve as area of support and as well as area of resistance. But reversal also serve the same thing. We use them as area of support and area of resistance. All right. But remember, for reversals are the points that give you the obvious high, the main obvious highs. All right. Those points always remain valid. All right. Anyway, I will be talking more about that. We have learned pulse and reversals. Go back to the lesson of pulse and reversals and try to figure out why is it that they are better. All right. When reversals happen, as opposed to pulse, when you use a reversal point as your support and resistance, you get a more valid support and resistance. All right. So these are one of the things you've been looking out for. And again, you look out for when you have something like this, you also begin to look out for a situation where you see the market actually doing higher lows. That's a downtrend displaying a characteristic of uptrend. Then you know that things are not going to be the same. And then there could be a reason why you're also doing that as well. Or an uptrend having a characteristics of downtrend. Those are areas, exceptions that your breakout and retest after the point of intersection has played out can fail. Based on that it can fail. When you have to notice that the market has started going uptrend, all right, or the market has started going downtrend. That if it's a downtrend, it has started displaying the characteristics of uptrend, then that is probably going to take you out. Or that in an uptrend, at certain parts, is begin to display a characteristics of downtrend. You know that if you take such trade, it's going to take you out. But there will be something that probably attracting them, assuming that you already have a point where you have intersection. Remember, if you have intersection, we expect our market to keep going until it hits the place we are supposed to designate as our final TP. I'm sure you have all these videos you have watched now. I've discussed about that, how you can know where your final TP should be. If it has not hit your final TP and the market is going against you, there must be a reason. Like in this case now, it is time for us to now pay attention to the reason why, after these first 2 points of breakout and retest are playing out fine, the other points that follow did not play out fine. That is exactly what we want to look at. And we have actually talked a little bit about that. I'm sure Christian should understand this better than everyone, because the day we're discussing it, I discovered that most of you don't understand it in the class. I'm talking about it. So if you look at this place now, you now discover, remember we're talking about a gap. Look at, there's a gap here. There's a gap here. Immediately the market reverses, it will most certainly have to come back to close the gap first. Now look at what happened at these first points, breakout and retest. You can take an entry. Now this second point, breakout and retest, evening star, you can take a trade. But that is before there was a gap. Look at now, there is a gap after these 2 points. Now there is a gap here after the 2 points of breakout and retest. All right. So from this point, you have to be conscious of your breakout and retest, taking of a trade there until the gap is closed. Until the gap is closed, that's when you can take trades freely. And if you watch it, that is exactly what happened. The gap was, why it was opened, you can see the reason why the breakout and retest here at this point actually failed. There is a gap. All right, the two breakout and retest that happened before the gap played out nicely, but other breakout and retest didn't play out nicely until like this one here. We can even call this one, because if we draw a zone here, this breakout and retest will be valid. But you see here will still be a zone of retest area. But you see, these two didn't play out until the market came to close the gap here. All right, when it closed the gap, that is, you can discover that all the breakout and retest begin to function nicely, until we hit our TP, until the TP is hit. All right, I'm sure you understand what I've explained now. All right, remember the three things that can affect your breakout and retest after that is, we're talking about breakout and retest that happened after a point of intersection has been hit, is you have to pay attention to presence of gap. You pay attention if the market has started doing higher low, or lower high, depending whether for higher low, that is if you are in downtrend and we begin to see higher low, or if you are in uptrend, begin to see lower high. All right, you should know that your breakout and retest might not work. All right, and then if you have a gap, immediately a gap occur. All right, you have to begin to be careful about your breakout and retest trade. All right, because until the gap is closed, you might begin to have issue. And so immediately after the gap was closed by this point, this candlestick point, you see, after this bearish engulfing, the market level returned. The market kept going down until it hit. Each time there is a breakout and retest, the market keep going down until it hits. This is area of part of our final TP. All right, then the market started going up again like that. Did you understand that? All right, same. So guys, that is the point. I'm talking about final TP. I don't know if you guys still remember what I talked about here, about this gap here. Remember, because of this gap, I said that this first point of the gap I take it as my final TP, though we are marking this point as well as this point of a gap to be our three area of final TP. But I remember saying that this one will be like, if you are greedy, you begin to look beyond this first gap. If you take a trade from the point of intersection up to this point of the gap, you're already a millionaire in dollar, depending on the kind of amount capital you already have and the loss side that you use to fire a trade that will come down to this very point after the point of intersection. That will be plenty thousands of dollars. Can be millionaire in Naira if you're Nigerian or any other country that if your money is less than dollar, you can probably will be a millionaire in dollar. So now I believe that you will learn a good lesson from this point, that when you have set of area you consider as your final TP, please take your TP at the point that is closest to your entry. For instance, now what I mean is that if you take our entry here, now this TP is the one that is closest to our entry point. All right, this area, this point, this first TP is closer to our entry point. Okay. So the second one is further, and the third one is further to it. All right. So if I take my trade at this point, for instance, it means that if my final TP is designated either here, or here, I will take it here. That's how not to be greedy. All right. And of course, you see our market actually got to, after it closed the gap, that's another function of gap. After it closed the gap completely, that is when the market turns. Market turned after closing the gap, and it gave us a chart pattern here and turned and began to go further. There are a lot of things to discuss in this on these charts, but that's where we are going to stop it for today. I've clarified what I needed you to understand as per the reason why breakout and retest did not work for some here. I have clarified the reason. So guys, watch the video as many times as possible in order for you to understand everything. Break them down bit by bit and understand everything. So guys, here we will draw the curtain, and until we may revisit this chart to talk about some other things later on. But for now, this is the much we have to talk about right now. So guys, bye-bye. Bye-bye, guys. Bye-bye, guys. I should not do that. Is there anything we have to discuss or talk about? I don't think. Let me see if there's something that deserves talking about. I don't know. Maybe we can always come back to the chat and find time to record anytime that we have something to talk about. But that's it. Remember, type of that zone. This is example of marking out zone, the size of a zone. So guys, remember some of the places that we use as support and resistance as touch, they did not breakout and retest that did not touch. Guys, if you draw the zone, you discover that the retest actually hit the zone as well. All right. So I think that's another correction that I need to bring in. All right. So see you guys.